Hello, everyone, and good afternoon, and welcome to today's session. My name is Hiba. I'm the entrepreneurship trainer at 51 Labs, and I will be your host today. For those who might not know who 51 Lab is or what we do, we're an international startup incubator that help talented entrepreneurs globally to start their startups. Our vision is to create a global network of innovators and entrepreneurs empowered with the startup and support and skills that needed to drive positive change in their communities and countries. We are happy to have you all attending this session where we will discuss entrepreneurs' guide to work-life balance. Before I hand it off to our guest, I would like to share a couple of housekeeping points with you. First, we will mute you all for a better sound quality. And second, this session is being recorded and will be shared on our social media platform. At the end, we will have 15-minute time frame for Q&A. So if you have any question, please write them down in the chat box and we will read it out during the Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce you to Ms. Vicky Kolovou, the marketing director at Digital Giraffes. She is a true networking enthusiast who believes in the magic of unexpected opportunities. Ms. Vicky is a marketing expert with a knack for helping businesses shape their strategies and brand identities. Her extensive experience spans various industries from technology and AI to healthcare and fashion. Get ready to know and learn more from her diverse experiences during our webinar. Ms. Vicky, the mic is yours.
Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me. Let me share my deck. Okay, I think you can see it. It's very yellow. I did choose 51 Labs colors. I tried at least.
Amazing.
Okay, so as you already said, my name is Vicky Kolovou. I am of Greek origin. I was born in Australia, but I do live now in Greece. When Alice invited me to do this webinar, and then I got in touch with Gasha and Hiba, I was really thrilled because unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, you usually get negative news when it comes to Iraq or other countries in the Middle East that are affected by conflict. But this really makes me happy. And once I heard about Iraq, I said, yeah, I want to do this and I want to connect with these amazing people. The resilience and what they're doing is fantastic. So I was asked, so Hiba was very kind to send me these nice questions. So I try to follow that guideline. You're welcome to ask me any other question. My experience is I work mainly in marketing now. Digital Giraffes is by coincidence an all-women team. I think we're 8 of us now and it's all women and I'm really proud of them. Amazing ladies. But we come from the US, I'm from Australia, from Greece, all over Europe. And we're hoping to grow the team. I do have experience when it comes to startups. I've gone through startups myself. I will tell you a few anecdotes from that. I was involved in the startup community very early here in Greece, almost when it started. Greece is a small country. For those of you that don't know, it's like around 10 million people. The startup community about 15 years ago was non-existent. Right now, we have over 4 or 5 investors, local, who will invest in Greek startups, but also abroad, get great advice. We do great use of the diaspora, a lot from the US. And it was one of the best things that actually happened in my life, getting involved in the startup community. And I will sort of explain what I mean by that. So thank you very much, 51 Labs and all the team for inviting me. Let's go to the first slide and talking about defining what work-life balance is. In my opinion, you need to define what are your priorities. It's not easy. This is not like entrepreneurship and making a startup is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It'll take you a lot of time, a lot of crying, a lot of problems, but you need to believe in it and stick to it. If you think you're going to create a startup just to make money, I think you need to rethink your goals. It's not that easy. You do know the statistics, most people fail. But honestly, in my opinion, startupping doesn't mean making a multi-million company that you're going to sell out. Even making good business for yourself, putting food on your table, loving what you do, being innovative, for me, that's really important. It's also very important to take breaks for yourself. That is it's huge. You need that time to quiet yourself down, as I say. You need to meditate. You need to think about what you're doing. You need to understand if you're on the right path. So it's not easy trying to balance all this, but just try to keep main pointers as to what are your priorities, why are you doing this? Sorry, backwards. Go to the next one. So the challenge. In my opinion, you need to look for motivation. You need to understand why it is you're doing this. And if you do that, that will sort of keep you in the right line. Personally, I love work. I enjoy working. I'm that kind of person, but I do understand that it should be really difficult, especially for people like mothers with children. That in itself, growing up your children, parenting is a job in itself. So I don't think it's that easy, and you need a lot of strength to accomplish it. I always think it's a little bit more difficult for women when it comes to men, because they're expected to raise a family. But I guess it's the same for men too. So achieving this balance is important, but finding why you're doing this. In my case, as I said, I prioritize work. I like working. It's not a burden, but it is something that everybody has to look into and find what it is. It could be, for an example, I've seen a lot of startups just love what they're doing. You know, working with innovation, working with something nobody else has done, maybe. That is a great motivation to achieve what it is you want to do. I'm going to try it conventionally. So, strategies for boundaries. For balance, it says here, but I'm going to say boundaries. You need to set boundaries, and I will explain this slide. For me, this slide actually is my most important. Using space to define boundaries. One of the most common things that you find when it comes to startups is they don't have an office. They might be working in a co-working space, but they don't actually have a conventional office where they're going to get up and go every day, especially at the beginning. For me, I need a space. It could be a space in your house, like the office I'm in right now. It could be a co-working space. When I started out, I went to a lot of co-working spaces, and sometimes I didn't have the money to pay for it. So I would exchange it for services like graphic design. I've even implemented a logo for a working space, and I won, and they gave me 6 months of space. I've gone to large companies and asked them, technology companies, whether they had some space, a table and a chair for me to sort of get in there and work. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted like-minded people. And I wanted that space to define when I'm working and when I finish and go back home and be with my family or my friends. Another thing that can help you with balance is appreciating the value of what it is you've chosen to do. And by that, I mean, how much you love what you're doing. Does it excite you? Everybody has different reasons for being excited about something. I remember I've gone through different startups. A lot of them have failed, basically because I didn't raise money or they were too early. An example is we once worked, me and my team, we worked on a street view before Google Street View was even a thing. So we went down center of Athens the most commercial road, and we did street view, and we created a site where everybody could go in, find the store they were interested in, let's say Zara, for example, and they could click and walk in and go to Zara's e-shop and buy stuff. It was too ahead of its time. Most stores didn't have an e-shop. They were all, they couldn't understand the technology. It had nothing to do with pricing. It was very reasonable, but this was so exciting for us. And that helped us with the balance, because I got friends involved. I got a university involved to do the whole street view for me. They came from 500 kilometers away to my city to be able to do that. I got my family, and it was a great way to get others also involved. And that was like, there wasn't a separation so much between what I do for work and what I do for my personal life. So you need to find what kind of boundaries will help you build that space, that safe thing that you can work in. And, whatever you're doing and you're enthusiastic about it, don't be shy to go out and talk about it to other people. You're not going to get them excited. You're not going to get them involved. You're not going to get them to help you if you don't share. Dealing with overwhelm and burnout. So this is one of, I want to give you a small anecdote here. When I was working with startups, I had given 1 or 2 interviews to local newspapers, and they wanted to do an article about burnout. So one of the journalists called me and she said, do you have burnout? And I said, no, not really. I was much younger. I wasn't at that stage. I said, not really. She said, come on, you must feel something, And she was pressuring me. So I said, yeah, okay. Sometimes I get too tired. I have a headache. I just wanted to get out of the conversation. So next day, the newspaper comes out with my picture and talking about burnout, and my picture is under that. And then I've got friends calling me and saying, what's wrong, Vicky? How can we help you? I realized then, never do that again. Never gave an interview, at least to a Greek newspaper. And I was very careful about what I say. I understand a lot of people feel overwhelmed and burnt out by what they're doing. There are different techniques. I do use meditation. I don't just say it like that. I do meditate every day. I find it helps me, might help others. Doing something else you love. It's not a bad thing just to give up for a day or 2 days and go and do something else and just renew your batteries. Talk to somebody you trust. You need to have these kind of people in your life, people who will understand what you're doing, who will not judge you, who just will listen to you. And in the end, what I always say to everybody, and this is in my opinion, a very important point, we need to be able to control our ego. We don't all have to be leaders. If I've got a startup that I began and I really can't do it, my obligations are too much, it might be worth looking into my team and seeing if somebody else can lift up some of the weight, help me. So you don't have to do everything. And by the way, I truly, truly believe being a follower is something that everybody should start out from. Before they lead something, they need to learn how to be a follower, which means finding somebody else who's doing something like that and just saying, how can I help? And, you can set up like a year, you can say 6 months. I'm going to give you all the help you need, and in return, learn from that and be better at it. The same thing you can do when you feel that you can't continue. I do have a version of a song that I will talk later, actually expresses me a lot. And basically just says, there are things that you should be worrying about, but some things really you shouldn't be worrying about, and just get over it and move forward. It's not the end of your life if you don't, make it happen or it doesn't work out for you. Setting priorities. I like this question also. It's really nice. And I think it's the most difficult for everybody. I would say staying organized, create a list of what you need to do. So you'll see my jar with my rocks. I actually use that. I have 2 jars. At the beginning, I used to use 2 jars. This is something I read from somebody else, and it works for me. I set 2 jars. I used to set 2 jars with all the tasks that I had to do. In marketing, you work with a lot of clients and you got a lot of little things that you have to do for each client. So at the beginning, it was quite overwhelming. And what I did is I would gather all my tasks for the day, put them in one jar, and as soon as I finished with the task, just move it to the next jar. What that does is you see the jar with all your tasks going down, which means you're accomplishing, and then you see what you've actually accomplished. So I don't use jars anymore. I'll be honest with you. It did help me. I did use it for a rather small time. But now I do use Post-its every morning. I write down all my tasks and I strike them out as soon as I've accomplished them. I don't manage to do everything in 24 hours. I can't. Nobody can. But you'll do the next day, you'll move on the next day. Just don't get crazy about it. And one of the best advices that I actually received from somebody, a CEO, he was actually the CEO of Volvo and later IKEA. I'm sorry, right now, I don't remember his name. He said, if you feel that you're not moving or you're stuck or you're frozen, whatever, just take any step. Anyway, it could be sideways, it could be front, it could be back. Just do something. Just get yourself unstuck. Just take that one small step and move. It might not be the best priority. It might not be the most important, but it's better than just being stuck on one side and not moving. That's not going to help anybody, you or your team. Flexibility, great topic also. I think a lot of us here probably are working remotely. My team actually, most of us do live here in Greece, but we have chosen, we are all technology people. We work in marketing, but mostly with technology companies, especially artificial intelligence. We understand the jargon. We use all the tools that are available out there for us. So I personally don't feel that we lack an office. I know my business partner would love us to have an office. She feels better working from an office and seeing everybody every day, in my opinion. But I think she also, like I and the whole team, love the flexibility because, you can do whatever you want. You can work any time of the day. What we always say in the company is do your job. We don't care if you do it at midnight, as long as you do your job. It does require a lot of self-discipline. It's not easy. It gives you the freedom, but if you're not organized, if you don't have self-discipline to sit down and do what it is you have to do, and that does not only go for the founders of a company, that goes for the employees. And, if you can't teach an employee how to do that, and you don't see them actually listening and trying to use the tools you're giving them. And I'm not talking about tools like monitoring if they work or not. We don't have that belief. We can understand, we know when somebody's working. It's achieving whatever the job is, accomplishing what they have to accomplish and doing it. We don't have to stand on their necks. We would never do that. And we always try to say, do whatever it is you want to do. You've got a family thing that you need to go to, you should go. And you'll do your work. We know you will do your work. And we're very happy that everybody in the team especially, does that. And I don't really have any, I only have a few memories in the past with the startups, with people that didn't actually do their work. And, you have to confront that and you have to talk about it, in my opinion. You should not let it fester. It's going to get worse. So, deal with it. It gives you a lot of flexibility. One of the most important things that I have found that working this way, that entrepreneurship actually offers you is being able to travel and network with the right people. You can travel anytime, wherever that is. You've got a computer, you've got a laptop, you can even work from wherever it is. And, if you skip a day, if you don't work one day and you do something else, like build your network, that is also really important and something that you should be striving for. So how do you balance ambition and well-being? I would always say you need to remember what motivates you. And if this, whatever you're doing doesn't motivate you, you shouldn't probably be doing it. For me, it's two things, discovery and networking. And when I say discovery, that is, I do a lot of research on whatever it is I'm going to work, whatever I need to tackle. I'm a hard proponent of research. I have played the role of listening to a lot of startups in different events that I travel to. They ask me to listen to startups and they pitch. And I'm always amazed as how I hear the same things. And it's like, you're wondering, did they do any research? Did they know there are companies doing this? Especially when they want to go international. So when it comes to discovery and networking, it's sort of common because what I believe is do research, read a lot, travel, especially to events. Like 15, 14 years ago, mobile was the whole rage. So I wanted to get involved. I didn't know a lot of technical things about mobile. So I decided to pick myself up and go to Barcelona and see Mobile World Congress. For those of you that don't know, it's the major event when it comes to mobile. They have branched out to other things right now. But back then when I went, it was like 100,000 visitors, over 4,000 pavilions. The first time I went, I took somebody with me who I thought knew more than me. He was much more shy than me. I was shy. I didn't ask a lot. So next year I went back and I took nobody with me and I just went up and asked. There was nobody to make fun of me, but I learned a lot of things. And if I would give you one advice, is just find places where you can network. Go to events. If you can, go to events, whether they're local, abroad, and not only to the official event. One of the things that I used to do, I went back to Mobile World Congress for like 10, 12 years continuously. And the reason was because I created a network. And I didn't do that only through the event. I would go on Twitter before I even went to Barcelona, LinkedIn, and I would search for other things happening in the city outside of the event. So I would just, go butt in anywhere. So that way, I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of interesting people from all over the world, because it is a meeting pot for people from the US, from Europe, from all over the world. And these are connections that I always cherish. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you, everybody knows. Make sure you put them on your LinkedIn. But for me, that is, of all this road, all this thing I've done, I would never, ever change going to events and connecting with people. Locally also, when the local startup community, I think I was only 50 boys and 1 woman. There wasn't anybody, now it's a huge community, close to 1,000 people. Back then, it was like 50 of us in a bar. Or create a community. You can also do that and build speak with like-minded people that can help you when you really need that help. And networking, you don't always have to go and ask for something. It's just going and saying hello. In the future, you might need them. They might be able to help you, but don't think like, I can't speak to that person. Just go and say who you are, what you're trying to build, tell your own story. And I can assure you, people will be very willing, as long as you're not trying to sell them something. Don't do that. That's my experience. Don't do that. So don't waste time. Try to build your network and do it in a nice way. So I would love to say this is easy, adapting to different phases of startup growth. Really, if you don't have a big team and you're growing, I'm not sure how you will be able to balance everything, because it's a lot of work. When you're growing as a startup, it's a lot of hours that you're going to spend at your job, and you need people, you need team, and hopefully you have nurtured them to be able to help you. Changing, it's a good thing. You should be asking for help. One of the things that the Greek startup community always did very well was a reach out to diaspora. There's a lot of Greeks who live in the US, so they made sure to take advantage of that. I'll give you an example. When they first initially, one of the first startup guys, CEOs went there, he bought a used car and he just left it with the keys there for any Greek startup CEO just to go and get that car, talking about Silicon Valley. So the next person will just go and take the same car. You know, there's different ways you can help your community. And the good thing about diaspora is that we tend to support each other. And you should also be taking advantage of Iraqis or other nationals that are close to you that live abroad. And from my experience, I've done that. I reached out to people who are Greek and they were always very willing to help me. You know, and if they're not going to help you, don't worry too much about it. But it also happens with other entrepreneurs. If you're not trying to sell them and be obnoxious and just say, I'm having this problem, anybody on LinkedIn will actually reply to you. You know, if you're kind, if you say it in a nice way and you say, I need to do this, do you have advice? That's how I've been doing it for years. Every time I didn't know the answer to something, I always asked online for help, private messages. I've also done it publicly on Twitter. Should be saying X, but I'm going to say parenthesis here. I'm really frustrated that it's become X. I still call it Twitter. You need to stay connected, obviously, with people who do support you. Don't look at social media. It's all made up. If they look very successful and they're making money, honestly, don't believe that. Don't pay attention, just move on. And, you know, there are resilience techniques. It's a huge topic right now. You might need help, like buying books, reading, and there's online stuff. We live in an era, I'm hoping that, you know, most of you probably are much younger than me. We live in an era where everything is there. There's content, whatever you want to learn, it's on the internet. When I was in school, there was only encyclopedias, and your parents had to be very wealthy to have an encyclopedia at home. Luckily, I grew up in Australia with public libraries. That is not the case here in Greece. So if I had grown up in school here, I would not have access. But now everybody's lucky to have this access, and they should be looking for it. Don't think, nobody should be thinking we know everything or how to deal with something. Reach out is my opinion. One of the slides, one of the questions that was not included is failure. This question about failure, so I just put a single word in there. I think it's very important, and for me, this is very serious. It's, first of all, failure is a construct, in my opinion, that is created by society. If I asked you what's going on in Iraq, you'd probably describe it completely different to what failure is in Greece or the US, okay? Like, I admire the system in the US, which says, did you fail? Okay, just get up, create some new business, and pay me back whatever you owe me. That is not the case in Europe. They will literally try to wipe you out if you have borrowed money and will not let you pick yourself up. I think that is quite important. I think we have a lot to learn from failure. Success. What are you going to learn from success? It's great, it makes you feel wonderful, but it's failures that actually teach you things. And it's a failure that can motivate you if you see it in the right mindset to get up and try again. I personally would never, ever, if I could turn time back, I would not change my failures, because I learned from that. And when I say I learned, I now know how to find clients, how to charge my clients, how to make money, how to create work for them, how to make them succeed. And most of these things I did by failing. I failed with my work, my startups, the things that I did in the past, and I learned from that, and now I'm more useful to my own clients. So even if you fail in your startup, and I failed in 3 startups actually, I did make money, some money with them, but I wouldn't say I'm rich. But I learned so many things, I would never change that. And those things make me who I am. So I do feel better for myself. and I will never ever change the whole thing I have gone through, just to have avoided failure. Failure has much more things to teach you, and try to keep that if I can somehow help some sort of advice. I'm almost finished, so what I want to say is be real. And the reason I have this photograph and trying to talk about being real, we did talk about social media and what's not real before, or not paying attention to what's not real. So this was an image we used for an article that we posted on our website. It's not there on the top anymore. You'll find it on the blog. It had to do with marketing. So we actually got a client because she saw this picture and she said to us, I loved it because it was very real. It was authentic, and it wasn't like, all pretty and all nice. And this convinced me, and she was willing to speak with us, and we managed to get her as a client. So being real and really being as authentic as you can, I think, in my opinion, will take you much further. At least it will make you happy. At least you know you were authentic all the time. So I want to thank you. Obviously, these are my details. You can find me as Netwire. Of course, we'll have some questions, hopefully. But before I finish, I want to talk a little bit about being inspired by popular culture. And what I mean is, it's not only popular culture. I'm guessing there's poetry, there's amazing books, there's writings that much wiser people than us have written. So trying to find things that inspire you and keep you going, I think is worth the effort. I have these two things that I've put here. So sunscreen is, this was written on Chicago Tribune by Mary Smitch. So if they had asked her to do a celebratory speech at a university, you probably might have seen it at the end of a school year in the US. Somebody very wise goes on there, wears the whole dress that they wear, and they do a nice speech. A lot of them are quite inspirational, I would say. So she sat down and wrote this article, and then Baz Luhrmann, he's a British director. He made a song out of it, and I think this song, for me, I listen to it all the time. What is success? What your expectations should be. So I would strongly suggest everybody go and either listen to the song or read the lyrics. It's up to you. And I am not ashamed to say that I have seen The Martian, the movie, over 85 times now. For me, it's inspirational because this is a single human being stuck in a planet. And yes, I know it's not reality, but he has amazing resilience. He goes against all adversity. He uses his brain, as he says at the end. Yes, you're gonna eat through your shit. You're gonna eat. You're gonna almost die, but you just work today. You do your best you can and hope to be alive tomorrow and move on. So try to find your inspirational touches that will keep you going. And I do know there's amazing literature in the Middle East. Sometimes I think there's a saying that say, the Greeks write the books, Iraqis read them. So in Greece, I do know they're considered people who read a lot and are very literate. So there are things that you can find that will inspire you also beyond, your own small team or your family. I'm hoping I wasn't too much there. I didn't say put everything through it at you.
It was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this and sharing your experience with us. We really appreciate that. And personally, I really enjoyed the whole presentation. And I know our audience also enjoyed it because we got a couple of questions. I would be reading them out. Some of them I will be paraphrasing them to make it to share it with all of you. The first question we have is, does self-care play a crucial role in work-life balance?
I think it's really pretty obvious. I'm quite old now, and I would say finding ways to not stress, to understand what actually counts in your life. You need to think, it's harder when you're young, and you got all this energy and you can work 12 and 14 hours and 15 hours. I know nobody's going to change, because people used to tell me you're going to get sick, and it did happen. I would suggest that everybody try to take care of themselves. As I said already, find boundaries, what it is. You want to work 12 hours? Okay, maybe you work 3 days a week, 12 hours, and the other 2 days you work 6 hours. You don't have to do it every day. And you have to put a stop in yourself. Nothing is going to be resolved in 1 or 2 days in a week. As I said in the beginning, it's a marathon. So think wisely. You don't want to die. You want to create a business. You want to create a business, you're going to be successful and make money of it. Even if it's not millions, just money that you put food on the table. Think about it seriously. What are your boundaries? What it is you want to do? Because you will eventually burn out when it doesn't please you anymore. And I see Mohammed also has a question. I've worked 3 weeks by 5 weeks, 12 hours a day. Then I worked 5 on, 2 off. He still struggles with management and life balance. So I don't really know everybody's family situation. Some people might be lucky and not actually have a lot of pressure from the family, might have help from parents helping them with growing their children. Go with what is comfortable for you. If it's the second, just working 8 hours a day, which is quite common, most employees work 8 hours, try that. Maybe you shouldn't be working from the morning. Maybe one of the things that helps me is I get up in the morning, and I know my business partner also does that. She gets up in the morning, she does everything she has to do for her children. She runs wherever she has to go, and then she comes back and sits down and does her work. It doesn't mean you have to do it 8 hours, 12 hours. You might be good with working during the night. If it isn't that, what matters is usually when you're talking with clients, I'll tell you what, in my case, we do have clients from the US. So that actually is the only obstacle. And because we have clients from the West Coast, which means a 10-hour difference with us, we need to be there during late in the evenings. That's frustrating for somebody who lives in Europe. I have to be after 5 p.m. on call to do meetings, and doing a call at 9 or 10 p.m., it's not easy. That might mean that I sleep more in the morning. Try to find your balance, what works. Doing your experiments, like I work 3 weeks or 5 weeks for so many hours and seeing if that works. Yeah, maybe you do 4 days a week and you talk with your family and say, the 5th day, Friday, that is also one thing, by the way, that we do. Our Fridays are more relaxed in the team. We work sometimes we might not work at all. And, we didn't say this to the employees, but everybody understands that Friday is more relaxed. So maybe you decide, I'm going to work 4 days, but the 5th day, I'm going to have it just with my family or do everything else I need to do. That might also be helpful. And maybe you can fit in something during the weekend that you might have 3 or 4 hours by yourself. So there are ways trying to find, but just listen to your body, listen to yourself. And it's not going to come immediately. You might change this, but there's no fixed, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. That's stupid. That doesn't work. Try different things. Find what works best for you. Somebody asks if we can receive, I think, the slideshow. Yes, of course, I will offer it after this.
And sorry for that, but also for our audience on Facebook, if you want to ask a question, you can ask it in the comments, and our team are going to share the questions with us. So no worries, just ask your question and we will have it. Yes, for the more question that we have in here is also how to get customer love and trust.
I think that is, it really depends the kind of work. Okay, so in our case, when it comes to marketing, we talk with our customers. So it's not, we're not selling a service that we don't see them and we expect them to sign up online. That is a whole thing. And working with customer journeys is very important. And you need a whole team and you need experts to sort of build that. I can talk about marketing that we do. I always say I am WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. I try to be honest with my clients and they know what to expect from us. We say the truth. We have boundaries. It's not like we are not the kind of agency that will do everything. And you know, we select, we say to each client what it is they can accomplish, what they can't accomplish, what they need to change. We try to push that a lot and for them to understand that we do have the experience to accomplish what it is. And we don't really have any problems trusting us. Our work proves it, but it's not in one night. Again, it's work. Like something that is very common for us is we retain our clients for like over 6 months. So we might get a new client and we work with them for 6 months and they can see what we have accomplished. Some days might be slow. Sometimes they might not see something. They might not have to see something. But what they do know is that we are trying our best. And they see that in the end. And usually most clients continue their retainer with us beyond the 6 months.
Thank you. And the other question is, what is your advice for entrepreneurs who work in a jobs in addition to their their own businesses?
That is difficult. That is difficult. Listen, you should do both at their own pace and their own time. So don't get into that hype because you know, investors are going to tell you to quit your business and work on the startup that they will invest. You can be sure for that. I've gone through that. I've seen it myself. That's up to you to expect. Is that what you want to do? Are you feeling comfortable to abandon your job and doing whatever else you want to do? If not, make it happen in your own pace. Offer the kind of hours you can. Obviously, we can't talk about work and life balance when you're doing 2 jobs. It's a little bit more tough, but I've done it. I've actually worked and had a startup. I worked a lot of hours. That's what I did. And when I saw the first promising aspects that some money might be coming up, I did quit my job. Having said that, I will tell you that I have quit jobs or work that paid me more money than I was making later on. That is because I do believe that you need to focus on what you're doing if you wanted to make it successful. But again, it's up to you. I would quit. I'm the kind of person, usually I try to collect money to live like for 6 months, make sure I could live off that money, and then went on to quit and do what I like. But my character, my personality is I get bored very easily. I'm not saying I don't quit like in 1 or 2 years, but I did quit recently working as head of marketing in a US company to build my agency with my team. And although it is tougher, I wanted to do that. I wanted to focus solely on that and not just do it on the side. I decided this is what I want to do from now on. It's not easy, but I would never go back.
Okay. Actually, the second part of it is like a hint for balance between the 2 jobs, but you already answered that. We had another question which said, how long did it take you to make your startup successful?
Okay, this is a great question. I don't know what you think. There's very few cases that I've heard that it was just like a straight road. I've never seen, and I know a lot of startups, by the way, how they work. Most of them do not succeed. Mine did not succeed. Most of the startups I worked was like 2 years I spent on them, and then sort of decided it's not going to work, move on. One of them I came very close. I had investment, but it didn't go through. And the reason in that case was the team. So if you would ask me what I would worry before even making a startup successful is the team you're working with. The biggest failures I've seen is teams breaking apart. And I've always come across that, and I've seen it also in other startups. Usually like when there's not enough money or money's running out, there's a lot of infighting. And you might have a great idea, you might have even an investor waiting, but if your team has issues and they're fighting between them, and especially at the head, the founders, that's going to be difficult. And those are the most failures I've actually seen here, not only here, also abroad, when it comes to startups completely dissolving. It's very difficult because most startups actually have 2 or 3 founders, and that is the most difficult. Succeeding, it's up to you. It depends on what kind of business it is. There are businesses that you might have investors who are pressuring you. You might have investors who are so deep in, they want you to succeed somehow, and they keep on giving you money. There's different aspects. I have worked with a startup that was there for 7 years and they were still not making money. So were they successful? I think not, but it depends.
Okay, thank you. The other question that we have is, do you have any advice for younger people that they are worried about their future?
Yeah, that is, I want to be very careful because the situation like in your country is very different to my country or other countries. I find it very hard when you don't have stability, when you have governments, for example, with corruption. Greece is not the best place, so don't think about it. It's not Germany. There's a lot of obstacles. When I was young, there was also obstacles. And every generation has its own obstacles. They're different, that's it. Right now, we seriously have to think about climate change, for example. That wasn't a thing when I was young. People used to throw their garbage outside, they would open the window on the car, just throw it out on the road. But things have changed. There are obstacles as they were back then. There are obstacles right now, but honestly, you can't stop. You can't just freeze. Yeah, you have to put one foot in front of the other. So just keep on moving. And to be honest, if you sit down and think that your future is not going to be good, might be the truth, but have you done something about it? What have you done for yourself to get into that future? That's what matters, not what social media says, not what others say. Do you feel that you've tried your best? And I do honestly believe that I'm very optimistic when it comes to the younger generation, getting rid of all the stupid things that my generation did. So please don't give up, younger people. You need to try and, save our earth and make our lives better, because obviously we completely failed.
Okay, and just a reminder for everyone, if you have a question, you can write it down in the chat here in Zoom, or you can write it as a comment on Facebook. The other question that we have is, nowadays we do have the technology, and how can we use it in our advantage, and how to disconnect when needed?
I don't think this is the question from Mohammed, it's somebody else. Disconnecting, it's like discipline again. You need discipline. It's like my friends find it really weird that I do not pick up my mobile when I'm out with a friend. When I'm talking with somebody, I pay attention to who I'm talking with, and I will never pick up my phone. That's how it used to be in the past. We didn't have a telephone on us. We used to go out with friends, and we were totally focused on our friends, and those were the people we were talking with. It's discipline. I don't like people interrupting when I'm talking and picking up their mobile to speak with somebody else who's not there. I don't like doing it to others, and I discipline myself not to do that. I keep my mobile in my pocket or my bag and try not to pay attention to it. Read a book, do something else, go out with your family. It's small steps. It's not like, don't think you're going to improve your lives. Just today, I will stop being dependent on technology. That's never going to happen. You just do small steps. Go out, do something else that you love. Find what you love. If you don't find something that pleases you more than your screen, you're not going to do it. You're just going to give it up. It's the same like going to the gym. If you don't like gymnastics, doing gym, any exercise, you're not going to go to the gym. Even if you do go and buy a subscription, if you don't like it, you're not going to go. You're just going to pay the subscription. So it's self-discipline and finding other things that you like. I do understand the allure of the screen. It allows you to, like I'm doing now. This is amazing. I'm talking to you people, trying to answer these questions. I could never do that in the past. So I'm not the kind of person who's going to say, avoid the screens. Just discipline yourself. And like, if you go out with your family or your friends, just pay attention to them. You don't have to look at your mobile phone. If you do, there's something wrong.
Okay, thank you. The last question we have is according to the research and data, 90% of startups and small businesses will fail. And as you mentioned, you personally failed in 3 startups. What's the most common reason for failing startups? Give 1 or 2 most common points.
So most common is teams. I think that is the biggest one. Obviously, you can run out of money also. That might be later, but I would say I've seen startups fail 80%. It was the team. They didn't even get to the next stage to even try to raise money or whatever. So building a team that is really interested in finding the right people, that's not easy. It's something that you need to spend time, understand, and try to build it with people who can really help you get to the next step, who understand you. And helping you doesn't mean you're not going to pay them. It just means that they will share your vision. If you find people who can share your vision, understand what it is you're doing, and try not to burn them out, they might stick around. But I want to say that I did fail, and a lot of others failed, but I admire all these people who I know who have failed. First of all, they did other startups, they moved on, or they were very valuable in the market. These people, if they had failed and decided to go back to work for somebody else, they're very highly appreciated because they have this amazing experience from being entrepreneurs themselves. They understand things differently. They have changed. So they could get jobs very easily. I would appreciate any person who has done a startup and wanted to work for me immediately without a second thought. So again, there is no fail, in my opinion. It's startuppers, people who want to create a startup or even a small business, local business, are amazing people. They're putting a lot out there. It's very difficult. They're giving up, an easy job that just pays them salary and come back to the family. They're an amazing sort of people that a lot of others want to work with them. And it's not failure. They have become better as human beings, and I totally believe that.
Okay, like for the people who are asking about entrepreneurship, our team are going to provide you with our contact, so you can contact us for this. The final question.
Was that a question? I'm sorry, I think I lost it.
It's like asking for entrepreneurs advices. So I'm saying, like, if you want, you can have the context as you can see on the screen, or you can contact us. Our team can also share our contact information, so you can answer.
And if anybody wants to reach out even after this webinar, they can reach out to me through LinkedIn or Twitter or X.
Excellent. The last question for today we came up is from someone who's asking about your journey. When you started your journey, did it make you more trust in yourself and believe in your abilities throughout your journey?
Definitely. That is a definite. It's like this whole thing made it easy. I can reach out to any person. I've never been shy. I've done, we've worked with another team on podcasts. We've done interviews with all the huge companies, CEOs in the US, in Europe. It's like, it made us so confident to start talking to these people. And, I can do a public speech much easier. You're shy at the beginning. You don't know, you don't know how people are going to deal with you. And as I said, you might take a few punches and a few kicks. It's okay. Just move on and never give up. So yes, it made me believe more in my abilities.
That was all the questions. Thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your experience, and for answering all of our questions. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. And whatever we can help this amazing group you have created, this amazing community, trust in yourselves, be supportive of each other, and things do change, and they do get better, or they do get different, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel. I honestly believe that. I'm not just saying that for fun. There might be dark days, but there's also good days, and that's what, when you're a business person, that's what you go through. Bad days, there's good days, and tomorrow is another day. Just think about it like that.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This was the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Ms. Vicky, for joining us.
Same here. Thank you, guys.